Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruce B opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
I get it. Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenji.
Okay. What's that? Nsila ID soto.
Sorry. I get it.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara Allah service o tariaka.
Mbare.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom Yona Forest de Bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birin koyna fo katon.
Bari si kodo kino katon nim fo bolon blabe ko.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono anin Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 ti nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma nin domorol dir fana beteata. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
baraka ba. Ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Baraka.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
and welcome to the brunch. I am Lamin Manneh. This is our weekly look at current affairs. Now, this week, the headlines and the television news and radio headlines as well have been occupied by one thing: the internal row within the main opposition United Democratic Party over, well, many people said, flag bearer position, although the party had always maintained that the debate for such a position is not yet. However, the veteran party leader, Hussein Udabo, came into the fray to do what many people now believe has killed the row. But how can the party get itself back on course with everybody on board once more? Was it just a common or normal internal power struggle or internal disagreements, or is it a major rift that may affect the party's unity ahead of the 2026 presidential elections? Well, who better to put these questions to than a member of the executive of the United Democratic Party, Lamin Manneh, who is Deputy Secretary for External Affairs for the party. We will talk about that, plus other contemporary issues. The President of the Republic was in the National Assembly to tell Gambians about the progress of his government, plans and achievements over the past year, and what his government plans to do in the coming year. But were last year's promises kept? Are you really sure that those made for next year will be kept? So these and other issues, plus of course, did we have oil or we don't have it? Well, now the president himself has come out to, for the first time, speak comprehensively about what his government has been doing about this oil thing. We will talk about all that with Mr. Manneh. Welcome to the brunch.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And as usual, happy to be here to be with the audience and viewers to discuss all of these issues and any other we might want to talk about in the course of the program.
Good. And we will talk about the Middle East, of course, where, well, many people fear that a major conflict is on the horizon. We will discuss what Mr. Manneh's perspectives are about what happened or what could happen and how a major conflict can be prevented. Now, Mr. Manneh, like I said, everybody was tuned to news from the United Democratic Party over the last week or so. Many people feared that the party's cohesion might be affected now that the party's kingpins, what we call, or chieftains, are at each other's throat over what people believe was a succession crisis. Now that the party's leader has come out to say, one, he condemned the, or rather he was worried about the different, the kind of rancor that is happening. He said that's unprecedented in the party and it doesn't help the unity. But perhaps more importantly, he said that he intends to run for the party's flag bearership next year, and if the party gives him that honor, he will then run for the party. Mm-hmm. Now, in previous times, when he did express interest, his candidature was a foregone conclusion because he's so revered that hardly anybody there. Well, it's been said that some people in some cases actually express interest, but then many people believe that was just formality. The foregone conclusion is that Mr. Dabo will not contest against anybody for the party flag bearers. So when he announced that he intends to run, many people believe then perhaps the row is finished. If it is about flag bearers, then the row is now ended. But now, tell us exactly, in your perspective, what happened in the last couple of days? Is it not really a very serious case of a possible breakup of the party?
No, I don't think it's anything to do with a breakup of the party. There were some rows that took place in the party and misunderstandings and, of course, personal ambitions, which is normal for a political party, because you've got a lot of talented young people in there who want to progress in their political careers. And they are also watching what's happening on the horizon, what is happening. And I think this is more positioning oneself for 2031. So I think these are normal ambitions which are being expressed.
But if it is 2031, if we will have people, I mean, what brought the Ranko is 2026?
No, 2026, because that was just a potential run for office, of course, yes. But I think almost everybody knew that there's a strong likelihood that Mr. Dabo would run for 2026. And all of them had said in the past that if Mr. Dabo runs, they will not run. So that was, I don't think there was any positioning for 2026, because all of the major contenders have been saying that if Mr. Dabo runs, he's their party leader, he's their dad, he's their mentor, they wouldn't run. And there was a strong likelihood that he was going to run. So I think people are positioning themselves more for 2031. And Mr. Dabo himself in some of our meetings said, I think we are working on succession planning. And I think anybody who's interested in 2031 should start thinking of, what you do now. So he said it in the past.
But if you say 2031, people will say, wow, if it was like that, or if Mr. Dabo had made it clear much, much earlier that he was going to be interested in 2026, perhaps the allegations we had that from Yankuba of Brikama Area Council and others saying that Mr. Bensouda of Kanifing was preparing himself for 2026. Everybody believe it. All this Ranko is 2026, not 2020, not 2031.
Yes, a lot of people did believe in that, and we are even told. Sometimes people come to me and say, "Is there a coup d'etat happening in your party?" I've been told that several times. To be frank, I say, "Why you say that?" I say, "Well, we see Talib all over the place, and Dinkuliolu and so forth is all over the place. What's happening?" I say, "Well, I mean, these are normal political activities. If you ask me, I would have said, let's put this off for the meantime." But nobody asked me, so they went ahead. They did their thing. So that's okay. That's a democratic right. So those were the sort of issues that made people think that something is in the offing. People that because there's no point in going to denial. We have to look at the things squarely in the face.
Exactly. People
did tell me, "Is it Mr. Dabo going to run? He's preparing Talib." All of those things came up, and I'm sure you all heard about it. So yes, those things were being said, but there was nothing coming from Mr. Dabo to indicate that he wasn't going to run or that he was preparing anybody. People did their own things.
If, as Yankuba said, Talib was allegedly preparing himself, like printing T-shirts in his name, so many paraphernalias in his name, etc. Do you think you people in the executive can convince anybody that you did not know that those things are happening, or you know it is happening and you didn't bother to stop it until it grows? People are saying that, well, you probably knew Talib allegedly was preparing his base, and maybe the executive was comfortable with Talib preparing his base or other strength, but you always said, let everybody wait until the time comes for party selection. But wouldn't it be, it's not a valid point that the executive or Mr. Dabo himself might have known about these issues, but did not at the time come out to arrest them, as he did last week?
Yes, this were happening, and we all saw it, and a number of us were uncomfortable with it. To be frank, a number of us were uncomfortable with it, that you have a party member, executive member, particularly the chairman of the organizing committee, doing those sort of things. It made us uncomfortable in the sense that it looked like what people were saying. Is he running for 2026? Is he preparing to take over? And there were discussions about this, not too many, but a few discussions, and a few, like when some of his surrogates, maybe surrogate is not the term, some of his supporters came out and said things about him having to step up in 2026, and Mr. Dabo should step down, and a whole lot of things unbecoming, which were said. I said several times, including on this platform, that maybe he should tell his surrogates to step back and let the party run the way it's supposed to be run until when the time comes. I said it several times on this platform and on other platforms. Those things did happen. And if they hadn't happened, and if he had arrested it at that time, we might not have got to this position.
If Mr. Dabo had addressed it, or
if Talib had talked to his supporters, tell them, calm down, hold your fire. As I told you, because he did say that he was not running if Mr. Dabo is running. He did say that, and he did say that Mr. Dabo is his candidate if Mr. Dabo is running. But when his supporters came out and said the things they said, I had said on this platform and other platforms that he should have told his supporters, hold your fire. I'm not a candidate. I am waiting for Mr. Dabo to run or not. If he's running, I'm supporting him. If he's not running, that's a different ballgame. Okay. So he should have done that at the time. He didn't. And Mr. Dabo, being very democratic, decided to let everybody have his or her say in the way they want to position themselves for the next round of elections. But everybody in the party who was serious and who knew that there was a strong likelihood that Mr. Dabo would run didn't think that Talib or anybody had a chance of running in 2026. Mr. Dabo was going to run. I want that, and I've not made a mystery of that. I've said it several times that he is my preferred candidate, because what we are looking at is somebody who one can win against Barrow because of his track record, his integrity, what we know about him. And also, once he wins, somebody who can move the country to the stage we want it to be. Because it's one thing to win an election, but it's another thing, totally different thing, to be able to run a country. We've seen it with Barrow.
Okay, you said one, you think he can win against Barrow.
Definitely.
Okay. The other school of thought from, people who, we wouldn't say critics, or people who, in your party, even in your party, who thinks that might be difficult, is that one, they consider age. People have always said age is discriminatory. But, if you look at the dynamics of politics, even in our region here, in West Africa, and generally in Africa, people tend to believe that the future generation now belongs to the youths. We've seen it in Senegal.
Yeah.
The average age for the president, the parliamentary speaker, and prime minister, about 40, 50.
Yeah.
We saw very old people like Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, our man's host in Equatorial Guinea, Basson, and people like Liberia's Joseph Boakai. Now all these people are seen, in the eyes that they are perhaps too old for the job. And there is a need for a generation change, a generation shift in the leadership. That all leadership is no longer inspiring. Now, and the fact that Mr. Dabo, you said, has a very good track record. Yes, he has a unique record in terms of sacrifice, self-sacrifice for the country. But even people in your party believe that perhaps time has come for him or the leadership to give way to younger ones, one that might be able to attract most especially the younger generation, who are definitely a large chunk now in our voters register.
Yes, absolutely.
They believe that people of younger age are more likely to attract those voters, and perhaps neutrals who probably, because of Mr. Dabo's track record in the UDP, might not have consider him to be in their choice of politician. May see younger ones, whether it is Yankuba Dabo, or it is Talib Bensouda, or it is Lamin Manneh, or it is some other young person, or Rahim Malik Low in the party. So they believe that the younger generations in your party might be able to attract these people rather than Mr. Dabo. So what do you say to those people?
We do have a few people in the party who say that, but they are a very tiny minority in the party.
Really?
Oh yes. I know that for a fact. They're a tiny minority in the party. The people who say that, most of them are outside the party. These are the undecided, the people who have always fought against Dabo being a candidate, and these are the people who are probably in that position. Our objective is to convince those people to come on board with us. We respect their positions and their thoughts on this. What we are trying to do is to explain to them why we think Dabo is the best candidate for the job. And we explain that to them. You see, because as you said, segregation, whatever form it takes, tribal, regional, religious, age, sex, it always ends up in the negative sector. We do not want that. We do not want just take somebody simple. Age should not be a criterion to run a country. It could be a factor, but just a factor. What we're looking at is somebody who has the experience and the capabilities and the integrity to run a country. We want somebody who is able to listen to everybody and make a compromise where compromise is necessary. We need somebody who can put together a team, because you need a team also to run a country. We need somebody who has been tested over time. We've seen what that person is capable of doing in terms of abnegation, in terms of being voluntarist and going out there doing the necessary things to take this country to the next stage. Be able to forego their own pleasures and their own priorities to put the country ahead of everything else. We need somebody like that. And that is where Mr. Dabo stands out in the lot.
But what about the fact that
Now,
he tried 5 times now getting into, and he was not elected? And generally we saw in politics, where would you go where the same leadership will try and lose 5 elections and you don't change the leadership? Very rare you see that.
Very rare,
Yeah.
probably, but
yeah.
there have been notable cases which have been extremely positive. Next door, Senegal. Abdoulaye Wade.
But Abdoulaye Wade didn't go 5 times. I think 6 times.
Yes, Abdoulaye Wade was running since the 70s.
I think he started in the 70s.
In the 70s with Senghor.
Senghor. I think he did 3 actually. The 4th one he was successful, if I'm
No, he did with Senghor.
Yes,
He did with Abdou Diouf.
in 1972, I guess.
No, I think it was 76 when we had Mahmoud Job and him
I
running.
think Wade came first in 76.
Yes, the
yeah,
first run, yes.
Yeah, and then 83.
And then in the 80s with Diouf.
83 with Diouf.
He ran 4 times with
And
Diouf.
88 with Diouf again.
Yes.
And then 2000 and rather 90. Well, actually, he joined the government of Diouf for some time. And
Yeah,
then
a
went
coalition for a short while, yeah.
Okay, but then the generations are different.
But I'm
That's where
coming
the
to that.
problem is,
I'm coming to that. He ran 6 times before the 6 times when he became president. You take Joe Biden in the US.
Yes.
Joe Biden ran from the 80s. He eventually got it. But forget all
You
of
mean
that.
he went for Democratic candidate?
Democratic candidate.
Yeah, okay. We know
tried
that
several times.
you have to
tried-
be accepted by the party
Yes.
before you can go to
Exactly.
He tried in the primary
The
and could
nomination,
not get until
the
it.
nomination for the Democratic Party. All of those things happened. But
But
when you
the
yes,
issue
sorry.
is this that yes, there are those comparisons, but the generation have changed, and the understanding. Most people in America knows issues.
Yeah, but before
Most young people in this country probably don't even know the issues. All what they do is they celebrate celebrities in the media and believe those are the people with the solution.
and that is
So they don't know, because they don't know issues, they don't resonate with all age.
and that's where
So as a strategy, people are telling your party, why don't you change your strategy now? Bring a young person, try to inspire the neutrals as well as the young people now. They believe that will galvanize support for your party in a much, much bigger way than perhaps maintaining the old leadership, whoever it is, whether it's Dabo or is some other old man like yourself or some other person.
Yeah.
So you see, why
Except that
why
I'm the
does the
candidate.
UDP find it difficult to make this generation shift? That's what people don't understand.
Okay, before answering that question, if you just allow me just to backtrack a bit. The number of times elections were held and Dabo was supposed to have lost the elections. We knew what happened. We knew the election rigging that took place under Jammeh. We knew what happened in 2021. These were cases where Dabo most probably won all of those elections with Jammeh, but because of the rigging that was taken, because he's 300,000 voters that were in the system, which are being distributed every time. When he used to say, if you don't vote for me, the genes will vote for me. You know what the genes were.
I would agree with you in 1996. Almost certainly everybody believed that the army used strong arm tactics and even force
Yes.
actually took it. But then subsequently,
But even after that,
people said it is the lack of tactics by the opposition, and particularly the reluctance of the UDP to agree to a format
again,
that perhaps led to the opposition staying too long away from victory. When they came together in the manner in 2016, they won the elections.
Can I come in there? Because again, the same thing.
Yeah.
There is this tendency to demonize UDP constantly. Okay. Anytime there's a failure to reach an agreement in the opposition for a consensus candidate, etc., it always is UDP.
Yeah, because they say UDP said they want to do it on their own. Either you follow us or
No.
we don't go your way. I mean, that's what everybody believes.
That's what everybody is told. You see, but that is not
Okay,
the reality.
okay, let me ask you now. Do you believe UDP alone can whoever's candidate, do you still believe that UDP alone can win next election? Do you believe it?
Yes, I do believe
So
it.
this is the trouble.
No, wait. Let me qualify.
So you still believe it?
No. You see, that's the trouble.
That's the trouble. People think you
because
believe
we tend
you can do it all on your own.
Just wait.
Okay.
We just tend to take just sound bites out of the whole thing and then use that. I believe that we can win alone in 2026, but we do not want to take that route. We are talking to other people. But somebody will just say, Lamin said, yes, they can win, and then forget what I'm saying, that follows.
Okay.
I believe, and we believe that we can win in 2026 because of the unpopularity of this president and all that's going wrong in this country. I think we can win because he's first past the post. But we do not want to take that route. We want to have a coalition, an alliance, or partnership, whatever it's called at the end of the period when the negotiation. We want to go to those negotiations and get other people to come on board to work with us. We want to do this. So people should not just consider every single time that when there is an attempt to come together, UDP is an obstacle, because people have been saying that and getting things out of context, or just taking bits of the sound bites and using that against us. UDP has always been for a coalition. But what we also have to understand, you cannot ask reasonably, sensibly, you cannot ask the biggest political party to step aside and give other parties the lead to take and to run with the prize. What we are looking at here is, let's get the biggest party to lead and work with the other parties, and there will be some power sharing formula and then other ways to work in a very democratic and a very honest and sincere way together. That is the way to do this. And that is feasible, that's possible. And I believe that some of the people we are talking to, I think we can get to that consensus and we can move. And then after we get the framework agreement in place, we can all sit together and define a program of government. Because some people tell me, oh, no, what did you give them your manifesto? I say, no, we don't give them our manifesto because we're not telling them what to do. What we are telling them is, can we agree on doing this together? Can we agree on going to these elections as a block? Once we agree on that, then we sit together. Then at that point, everyone will bring his manifesto or policies or programs, whatever you have, and we put it together and we brainstorm on it. And at that point, what comes out of it, once we put it on the table for brainstorming, it belongs to all of us. Whatever UDP puts on the table, whatever party A, B, C, D put on the table, it belongs to the collective. It's no longer owned by any party. It is our collective brainstorming product. We work on it and we come up with something to go to elections with and sell to the Gambian people. This is what we are looking at. And what we are looking at here, as you said, people are thinking, oh, well, maybe, today the generations are such that, with social media and everything, people are looking at younger people, so you just sell them somebody younger. You see, we don't want to just sell somebody younger, somebody with a photogenic appeal to be able to...
So you want to believe you don't have young people are already capable in your team?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Okay. I say we don't just want to do that.
Okay.
We want to select the candidate we think is the best to run for the country. We have seen the case of Adama Barrow. Everybody thought, okay, he's good. We can take him, we can run with him, and we can do something. And we've seen the results of that. We've seen what happened with Yaya Jammeh. We do not want to take the risk of just selecting any candidate and run with it. We are going to do a thorough and very stringent selection of candidates. Mr. Dabo has indicated his intention to run in 2026, sorry. Other candidates will have the opportunity as well if they want to come forward and say, we're going to run.
In the past, that was impossible.
No, it was impossible. We had Lamin Dabo run, for example, against
people said it was just for formality. I mean, hardly anybody will believe that there's any serious contest where Dabo wants.
Lamin Dabo is a very renowned and very smart lawyer. I don't think anybody would doubt his competence. I don't think he would put himself forward just for the formality of doing it. Maybe he doesn't have as much a chance as Mr. Dabo, but it's an election. Anybody could win. He came up, so other people could have come up in the party, but they didn't because they thought Mr. Dabo stood the best chance. So they stood back and let him run.
And that is not expected to change in 2026?
Maybe not, but maybe, who knows? Other people could come forward. But what I'm saying is, whoever comes forward against Mr. Dabo is going to go through the same scrutiny. We are going to look at anybody who put forward his candidate really good, scrutinize and see.
So now, look at this. The party, your party have always asked. I remember Dabo himself asking whoever is aspiring to wait until the time comes. But now Mr. Dabo himself has come out even before the time to express his interest. Whereas he has told all the people, anybody who might have interest, to wait until the right time comes. But last week he came out himself to say he is interested. And that's what exactly your party didn't want any of those people to start saying.
Exceptional situations require exceptional measures. We were at a time where we are having all of these skirmishes of late in the party. So we had to sit and discuss it and talk to the people concerned to find a solution to that and put an end to this bickering and no more of this fighting within the party, because we have to go to this election as a unified bloc. Okay? Mr. Dabo today is the cement of this party.
Very good. You are going to commentators.
He is the one.
Do you agree with commentators that, in fact, you people are not doing any favor for Dabo because of your disunity, you have now trapped him.
No.
Trapped him now.
No.
Even if he had any intention personally to quit, I mean, he wouldn't know. He wouldn't dare, because he knows when I'm gone, my people will go asunder.
No.
So Dabo now is trapped. He will have to lead the party to avoid it being split.
No, wait.
That's what people say. Some people think so.
You
That
see,
he is the you've just admitted that he's the unifying factor.
No, you see, because you interrupt me before I finish my point.
Okay.
Mr. Dabo is the unifying factor in this party and has always been.
Has always been.
Now, the elections are 1.5 years away.
Yeah.
This rift is happening in the party.
Yeah.
We're sitting with the people concerned. We're talking to them and trying to find a solution to this so we don't go to this point. Now, he also said, the fight is all about leadership, about flag bearership.
It appears, yes.
I didn't want to come out before and say I'm going to run. But now I'm telling you that I am also going to run. When the time comes, when the position is declared vacant and open, I will apply, and anybody else who wants to apply can apply as well. So we have to put an end to that speculation. Is he going to run? Is he going to run? Because part of the fighting is because some people think that
It wasn't clear.
Mr. Dabo is probably favoring Talib.
Yes, that was alleged. Yeah.
So that is an allegation that has been going around within our party, outside the party, etc. So with this, it's clear that he doesn't have a candidate. He is the candidate himself. Okay. So other people might now want to come in and be a candidate. So anybody who wants to be a candidate alongside him, you are free to do so. But it's clear to the whole world now that he is not behind Talib's activism on the political front to be seen as a potential candidate. He's not behind it. And some people are alleging that. So now that is clear. So now he is one of potential candidates.
That's why it's important for it to be stated that he is going to contest. So
I was happy when he made that statement.
people.
I was happy when he made that statement because at least now nobody would doubt him
I see.
for being behind one candidate
I see.
and supporting one candidate, which has not been the case. So now at least that is clear. So now it is clear that when come 2026, when we declare the position vacant, and in fact, Congress and the Executive Committee and the Central Committee would decide that they're going to set up a selection committee earlier and choose a candidate so that we have one candidate and we all rally behind that person and run. That could happen.
Do you expect that to be anybody other than Dabo?
No, anybody can. I cannot preempt that. Anybody can run for this position. Anybody can ask for to be a candidate. What I said is the key contenders in the party, which excludes me, because several times people have said, "Oh, Lamin could run too. I'm not running." So I made it clear.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not.
People have said in many quarters
Yes,
that
I hear it all
you
the
could be
time.
a very competent
I
candidate.
heard it all the time. I'm not running.
Just because Dabo is running.
No, when I came into the party, I came in essentially because after looked at all the programs, the manifesto, the agenda, 5-point agenda, and all of those things, looked at it, plus that of other parties, I thought this was the party for me. I looked at Mr. Dabo's track record, what he's doing, and having sat with him, and I work with him very closely. I know the kind of person he is. I know what he's capable of. So this is my candidate. I will support him. So I am not a candidate.
Yeah.
So that is clear at least. And other people have come out and say, he is my candidate if he runs. So that at least would clear the air. We would know who is our candidate and we can rally behind him and work and achieve something. See, because at this point, if you allow me just 2 minutes, a number of people have been saying, no Dabo, not Dabo. And I asked them, what do you have against Mr. Dabo? Let's discuss it objectively. So
You mean even
that
in
we
the party or outside?
No, outside the party.
Outside the party.
The fence sitters and undecided, etc.
And the NPP people. Sometimes.
Yeah, some of them, NPP,
Okay.
a number of them are leaning towards us now with all of that's happening. But that's a discussion for another day. I don't give much credit to that. When that happens, we will
Well,
see.
they are enjoying the moment.
Oh yeah, okay. I mean, what they're saying about us, yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
definitely,
They're enjoying the moment.
No, I thought you meant people who are thinking of moving back to NPP to UDP.
Oh, is there any such thing?
Oh yeah. When that comes, we'll discuss it. Yeah. So I think those are the ones we are mentioning. Yes, so a number of people are saying this. When they say it, I tell them, okay, can you tell me objectively what is the reason why you don't want Mr. Dabo to run? And what comes up to me all the time are basically, oh, well, he said Barrow should go for 5 years, not 3 years. Oh, he's old.
Yes.
Oh, he's run for so many times. These are the three that come to me all the time.
Yeah.
And I tell them, when you say he's old, do you mean he doesn't have the capacity to do this work? Say, yeah, that could be a factor. And I tell them what I have personally lived for the past 2-3 years, working very closely with Mr. Dabo. The capacity for work, the intellectual sharpness, and all that. I have a reputation to defend. I'm not looking for a job. I came into this pretty comfortable. I don't need to do this. If I'm doing this, it's because I want to give back to my country. So I would not risk my reputation supporting somebody who's going to be a liability for the country tomorrow. I have absolutely no interest in that. The reason I'm supporting Mr. Dabo, I work with this man. I give an example. He was coming from the UK last year. I was meeting him in Dakar because we were supposed to, at the Blesjan airport, we were supposed to have something in Dakar the following day. We left here, got there 1 hour late after his arrival. He left his hotel in the UK at about 3 in the morning, traveled all day, got there about 4 p.m. We didn't get there until about 6 in the evening. So he was sitting there for almost 2 hours waiting for us. We got there, I was really embarrassed to have put him through that.
Okay.
But there was no sign of anger, there was no sign of, disappointment. He was just his normal, affable self. So how was the road to trip? Was okay? He said, yeah, sorry, sir. We kept saying, no, don't worry about that. We were kind of embarrassed, but he just, so just don't worry about it. So we drove into Dakar, got into Dakar. We got into Dakar about 9, after 9. So we said, he's been traveling all day. Let's get him dinner quickly so we can get some rest so that we have our program for tomorrow. We got out and got him food, and we ordered for everybody, but we got his food to come first so that he can, he can eat and go get a rest. We brought it to him and said, so where's the food for the rest of it? He said, no, we wanted you to eat first because we've been traveling all day. So he said, no, I'm not eating without you guys.
Yes.
We're all going to eat together. So he said, no way. So we had to put that back, took it back to the restaurant, and they leave it in the hot area, in the oven. And then once it was done, we brought it all ate together about 10:30. We were there until about midnight 30. We had to beg him to go to bed. He went to bed at 3:30 in the morning. I heard noise in his room. I checked with his security guard. He told me, he's up again praying. I said, what? I said, yeah. So he continued like that until time for breakfast. We had breakfast together. We went to Dakar, did what we needed to do. We finished about 4 p.m., right? And we hit the road from Dakar about 4:30 p.m. coming back to the Gambia. We got here at 4 in the morning. Because of heavy traffic on the road, the truck traffic.
Exactly.
This man had been traveling for 48 hours, slept barely 6 hours in the 48 hours.
Yeah.
And he was still there sharp and joking and having fun. We got to Kaula, the kids, the young guys who were with us said, no, we need to buy Afra. He said, you guys can't stop eating, do you? So we stopped, gave them money, went to buy Afra. We stood there for about 30 minutes again, waiting for them. No sign of, bad humor. We did all of that. We came here. I've seen that. And we worked with him in his office. He would work from about 8, 9 in the morning from his home, come to the office, continue. And we worked with him until about 7 p.m., go back, and he would continue home. He has the capacity to work 14, 16 hours a day up to now. Sometimes you go into his office, he's surrounded by his law books. He's still doing legal design. He says, yeah, he never stops. He has a capacity for work. And when he asks us to write anything, I write it, I take it to him. His secretary, Fatnyan, would go, Mr. Man, new thing. He would look at every single thing. Nothing escapes. So he would correct everything and he would make suggestions. We would work on the document until he's happy and then let it go.
Okay.
So we have all of this
So
capacity
you
of
believe
work
that, you
in
believe
this man.
Mr. Davo still have the energy, the
Intellectual
sharpness to
and
still
everything to
run for election, and if he wins,
and to run
the country for 5 years.
Yes. I have that.
I
have that confidence in him and in his capacity. If I didn't, I would not risk my own reputation and everything, and especially the country's well-being for one person.
Well, nobody had doubt about his competence. That must be clear.
No, what I'm saying, some people are saying because of that age factor.
Yeah, that's age factor is important.
Talk about.
Not that he's not. Like he has infirmity.
I just want to finish the second point, if you allow me. The second point that they say about the 3-year, 5-year thing with Adam Barrow. And he said, well, he came out of prison and he said, it's 5 years. Anybody who says 3 years, I'll take you to court. I said, yes, he said that. And that was a mistake. And he was the first one to accept that mistake. And he pulled back from it. So I am comfortable with a leader.
Very, very good.
I am comfortable with a leader who can make a mistake and accept and have the humility to accept that I made a mistake on this one, and he pulls back and accepts the common position, and we move on from there to a better position, for the whole country. I prefer that as somebody who's going to be so dogmatic can understand that he can make a mistake, and then he can step back and say, I'll take that person anytime.
I have on that account, I have seen people, and I agree with analysts who gave a lot of credit to Mr. Davo. On that. Yes, it was a mistake because the general agreement was
3 years.
The guy who leads, who eventually wins, will have to go for 3 years.
Right.
That was a mistake for anybody to suggest otherwise.
Yes.
And you said he accepted that mistake.
Yeah.
But you see, I have seen criticisms or analysts that I agree with, that, okay, between him and Barrow on that score, in fact, he was doing a lot of goodwill for Barrow because,
yes.
I mean, it was Barrow, they said, who actually betrayed him on that account. Because what happened was,
absolutely,
he went out of his way, broke away from his people. If he had been greedy to come to power, he would have been the first to put pressure on Barrow to leave, because he would have been the biggest benefactor if elections were held in 2019. Perhaps.
He would have been a beneficiary, but his honesty wouldn't allow him to do that. And he also stuck to his principles of a constitutional lawyer looking at the constitution, because he always believes that we should comply with the rule of law. So he went for that position. But he was in jail when the agreements were being made.
But it was a mistake anyway.
Yeah, it's a mistake, because when the agreement was made, it was 3 years, and the person would go away, wouldn't run for election again, etc. Those were made when he was in prison. He should have probably asked about that and got all the details before he spoke.
So
but he did speak.
That mistake actually gave a new lease of life to Barrow.
To Barrow, yes. But
who continued to cling on to power and even to desire more.
But to blame him for that, he made the mistake and he stepped back. Why couldn't Barrow as well, if he were to be honest with himself? He knew the agreement he had with people. Why couldn't he do just like Mr. Davo, step back and say, yes, it's true, I had a gentleman's agreement and I'm going to honor my word and honor his word, and also step down after 3 years. He could have done that too, but he was not as honest and didn't have the integrity of Mr. Davo to do the same thing that Mr. Davo did. Mr. Davo accepted that I was wrong and stepped back.
Okay.
Barrow could have done the same thing. Okay. Wait a minute, I can't go this route because I've made a commitment, I've given my word, I'm going to honor my word. He could have also done that and stepped back, but he didn't. So look at those two people. The one who made that mistake and stepped back and accepted his mistake, I prefer that any time over the one who deliberately flouted his word with the people and decided to go the rogue way.
Okay. And according to you, still going on the rogue way.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's go back. Let's not forget. Let's go back to the party. The challenge now, what people said is, how are you going to, well, you may not call it reconcile, since you think it was a small rift, but how are you going to ensure that everybody stays on board in the UDP? Because, one thing your critics said is that UDP members are very unforgiving. Very unforgiving, they said, because, that's what your critics said. So they fear that what had happened would be taken as a victory for others, and then for others, it is a defeat. So it's going to be vanquish versus victors in what has happened. So they now fear, and you tell me now at the executive level, how are you going to ensure that this matter definitely is laid to rest, and everybody now can march forward to one direction.
Okay. You see, to start with, the UDP guys, it's not they're unforgiving.
Well,
they are principled. They are principled, and we want to go by principle.
But they can be very unforgiving when they are offended or when they felt offended,
right,
even among themselves.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. They are principled, and some people do take the principle maybe a bit too far, because being principled doesn't mean that you can step back and say, okay, this is my principle, you went against it, but I can forgive and we move on. Some people do that, but they are still a small minority. The bulk of the party is in that frame of mind that, yes, we have our principles and we will stick with our principles, but we do accept people making mistakes, and then we forgive them. That's why people go from the party and come back. Some people leave the party, some come back. Some people leave other parties and they have been very vocal against the UDP and very insulting sometimes, and they come to the UDP and they are accepted because they are forgiving. So saying that we are unforgiving is unfair.
Your critics say that, not me.
Yeah, I know it's the critics we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about to the critics.
Yeah.
So
they said even among yourself.
The critics
you
say,
finish each other as if you don't belong to one party.
and then the next day we're having coffee together.
I hope that is the
Yeah.
case.
So what I'm saying is, to our critics, I'm saying, we respect your position. We respect what you say. But please be fair with us too and look at it. We had people who have said horrible things about the UDP, about Hussein Udabo, and who come back and say, you know what, we were wrong, and we come join you. And you say, please come in. Mbemba Drame was a very recent case. He said very horrible things about Mr. Dabo, including if he could find a way to have Mr. Dabo killed, he'll have him killed. He said all of those things, but he changed his mind. He came to the UDP, and we accepted him open arms.
But I think Mr. Barrow is good, or even better in that type of tolerance.
He is tolerant, yes, but certainly not.
You have seen people who have said all sorts of things, and today they are ministers in his government.
Yes.
If he can have that, tolerance, you can give credit to him that perhaps he showed more tolerance than you would have shown him.
No. You see, those people,
yes,
those people most of the time sold their honor and everything to be able to get into.
But the fact that some people call him clueless. He was even angry.
Yes.
Even people sympathize, and that was an unnecessary attack.
Yeah.
He was so angry. Today, that man is a minister in his government.
So if those people decide to sell...
What about Modu Sabali, your former colleague?
Yes.
There was nothing Sabali had not said about Barrow. Today he's whining and dining with Barrow, and Barrow accepted him.
Yes.
So definitely Barrow have demonstrated a lot of tolerance, perhaps more than anybody could have imagined from the UDP.
I'm not saying he's not tolerant.
Okay.
I'm saying he cannot be more tolerant than Hussein Udabo. That's not possible. What I'm saying is, he is in power and he is trying to get people who have been critical towards him to silence them, bring them to power, give them part of the spoils of his government.
So you think that was his motive?
That is the motive.
No, he's tolerant. Because I would have, anybody said, look, I could have said, well, you know what? You've gone up to that far, I don't deal with you anymore.
Yes.
But he didn't do that.
Politically, that's not smart. That's not astute. You want to silence your critics when you can. So he got those people in there to silence them, give them part of the spoils, and then they get discredited and they do whatever they want to do.
But he's tolerant anyway. Another man would say, well, you know what? I don't need you. Even if you come with 1 million people,
yes,
what you have said about me?
I would say he's politically smart and maneuvering to bring them in.
Exactly.
So being politically smart and being maneuvering is not the same as tolerant.
With Barrow, even if he knows that you don't have support, he still wants you because he goes for the optics. He wanted people to know that Mr. X2 is with me. That's why people said all the more reason that the UDP cannot say you can do it on your own. You must go out and reach out to people.
And that's what we are doing. You see, some of these people I said, who go out and say the horrible things about him, I criticize him day in, day out.
Mr. Barrow?
Yes, but I am never rude towards him.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Yes, because rudeness has no place in our political discourse. I strongly disagree with him, and I criticize him very ferociously, but never in a rude way. Some of the people who have criticized him and said rude things about him...
Did you ever meet him?
No.
You never met?
No.
Does he even know you from
Of course he does.
Really?
With all that I've been saying about him, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does.
Did you know him in the past? No.
Did I know him?
Yeah.
No, not in the past, because when he was, I was abroad most of the time.
Oh, most of the time you were.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I can agree with everybody criticizing him and criticizing him very ferociously.
Yeah.
But not
in
with
any
decorum.
rude or desperate.
But with decorum. Yeah. So the people who have said horrible things about him,
yes,
sometimes rude, which he takes on board, it is to silence those critics and then make them eat humble pie, and then lose credibility and go on. So he looks good for that. And that's good for him.
But what
I'm saying, yes, I do agree to that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, we are in a position where we are not in government. We cannot give anybody anything, in terms of benefits, etc. But we do accept when you come back, and people come back because they see that what they said about us was so unfair, and that what they have gone for the other side, they see it's not there, and they come back to us and say, welcome back, or welcome if they're not with us. We have that opening towards people. We are not anywhere near dogmatic or intolerant as people want to make us be. This is a tactic that has been used against the UDP as long as the party has been here. Deliberately, Jammeh started the whole of this thing and called us names, gives us epithet to discredit us. But UDP is far from that.
Yeah.
And look, so basically, our critics who have been saying all of these things, I say to them, please, all we ask of you is just sit back, take a deep breath, and be honest with yourselves. Say to yourselves, objectively, are these arguments founded?
Yeah.
So what are we saying about the party? Is this really true, or is it just a subjective thing based on our own bias? So the voters who are in that position, we try to talk to them, we try to convince them, because we want everybody on board. We have not given up on anybody, and we will talk to anybody to convince you to come. Okay. Let's have those discussions. Okay. That's extremely important for a political party. Mm-hmm. The borough government, on the other hand, who go out and say all the things they do, we tell them hatred is not a policy. Hatred is not a way to govern any country. Division and tribalism and all is not any way to govern any country. When we hear, we had them go by force and all the rest, the horrible things they said about the UDP and the tribalism. We had it. We had it from Ahmad Ba.
You never heard me mention tribalism. That's
no, absolutely.
I don't mention it.
Absolutely. But then, what I'm saying is, the people who come out and say all of these horrible things about the UDP, most of the time is based on bias and dishonest positions sometimes, from the government, I mean. So we tell those people, hatred and dishonesty is not a way to govern any country. That's not a program of government. Forget that. Go for the ideas. Go for the things. Let's confront our ideas. That's the way. When I ask to debate people in the government, it's so that we can put facts and figures on the table and debate. Yeah. Because that the Gambian people can make a considered decision based on what they hear. Because people don't often read. People don't often follow things. It's just the snippets you get from social media and that so people make their minds upon. Go beyond that. So that's why we take all the time, anytime we're invited to any platform, we go there, we discuss ideas and we discuss points of view and try to convince people. Because when we come to power, it's going to be the same thing. And I say when, not if. When we come to power, it's going to be having to continue to talk to people, convince the Gambian, show them what we want to do. Because anybody who comes to power in 2026 will have a huge liability to deal with. Okay. So you will have to explain that to the country. Why 2027 is going to be tough, because we would have inherited a mess. And you have to clear that mess and move on. Pastef is going through the same thing in Dakar right now. They have inherited a huge mess, and they are taking time to clear that. So you have to be able to convince people, talk to them, explain things to them, and we move on. Gambians are smart enough to see that.
Okay. Nobody doubts the capacity, both in terms of organization and composition of members of the UDP. No doubt about the impressive gallery of human resources the party has. And in fact, it is one of the biggest opposition, no doubt, and perhaps one of the most organized, simply because, okay, look at the party. You should know and you appreciate your strength. Okay, you came second in the presidential election. Okay, whether or not you believe, but then you came second, which in itself shows how big you are. You control the National Assembly from Banjul all the way to Mansakonko. You control it. Yeah. You control all the biggest municipalities, the most important towns and cities in the country. Yes. You have the potentials now, to translate this to a concrete, huge base coming into the elections. But people fear that divisions, entitlements, self-entitlement. For example, I'll tell you this. Okay, the other day, Yankuba Dawo KM, of Brikama area council, said, well, you know what? I mean, if anybody needs to do anything here, at least I'm the chairman here. I control West Coast. I mean, you can't do anywhere. You can't get anywhere without me. People often say Talib Bensouda control KM. I mean, you can't get any roads. He controls KM. Rohim Malik Law even got the title Burbanju. even that Angus Barrow who said he himself he's more Burbanju.
Yes.
So if you have all these three people, and each of them entitled to be kings and queens, of their regions. Now, if you don't come together, how can you translate that to be able to help your party win regional elections? Rather, national elections.
Yes.
So this is why people said you must get everybody fall within your ranks along the line.
Yeah.
Along the line.
Yeah.
How are you going to be able to do that given the recent row?
And you see, that's the thing. Some of those things, sometimes people, what they say, it goes beyond really what they think, and part of the political bravado and all of that thing. Those things happen, okay? Yeah. But the reality is different. Any of those three people you mentioned, and anybody else within the party, knows that a great deal of the popularity they enjoy today is because of the UDP. It's not because of you as a person. You cultivate that and you have a part of it, but the bulk of the popularity that you enjoy is because of the UDP. We have seen people who were UDP who left and who just fell out of grace with the electorate. So if each one of those people understands it, but politics is also hype. So you'll have that sort of thing, and people will just do what they say, and so it's part of the fun part of it,
Yeah, so, but you can hype. You can tell the
MPP. Apart from that,
you can tell the MPP, I control KM. You can do, but if you tell that to your own fellow party members,
yes,
I control Brikama.
That's why some of the things that came out the wrong way.
Yeah, you should yourself.
What was said, some of those things, I would never have said that, and we have told them you misspoke. And you see, after that, Yankuba went out and apologized.
Oh, really?
Yes, on Pamodu's radio. He apologized. He said, what I said, if anybody, I apologize.
Oh, he did subsequently?
Yes, he said, I apologize all those who were offended by what I said. He did. He did on Pamodu's.
So many people, George, I saw that he may have talked about something that are very difficult, but he shouldn't have said it in public.
Yes, exactly. Not only have he said it in public, but even the sentiment itself should have been contained. And after this happened, I personally, and I'm with Amadou Sani, and because we divided ourselves into different groups to talk to different people and get this together out of the way, and then we'll sit together and finalize the whole thing with Sadabo and the rest. I sat with Yankuba and Amadou and a few other people, and we trash these things out. Okay? Other people have sat with Talib, and people are talking to different. So we divided shared the job between ourselves, and we are talking to people. And you see, since then you haven't had anything. The whole thing seems to have calmed down. So we are going to talk as a family. We are going to discuss these things, and we're going to come back to where we were, and we're going to get back to normal political relations that we had in the past, and it's going to get back to our winning ways. You're going to see that, So these are things that would happen in a political party, and denial is not any way to solve a difficulty that you come across.
Yes.
When you have some things and you have problems, you don't go into denial mode. You look at the problem squarely in the face and you take it on and you deal with it and you move on. Otherwise, it's going to come back to bite you again.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want. We want to move on to 26 now as a unified bloc and go and beat Barrow and his team and take over the reins of this country and take it to the place it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because if your people said they are entitled, they are kings and queens in Banjul, KM and Brikama, or I've not had the man in Mansa Congo saying he controlled it. Yeah. But if you bring all those, if you join those powers,
but you see the man
together and put them in one basket.
You see Landing in Mansa Congo, what Landing is doing in Mansa Congo in terms of development is huge. What Talib is doing in KM is huge. What Rohi did in Banjul and with Rafela is huge. What Yankuba did, this is a microcosm of what a UDP government is going to be.
Only if they are united.
They will be united, because we have been united, we have had these little rifts, and we are dealing with that, and we're going to move forward. See, UDP is composed of people who have had other options, but who have left those options there to come and fight for this country. Okay? Rohi has so many options to do and things to do. She left all of that. She came into politics to fight. because she believes that we can take this country away from the people who are ruining it and make it better. Talib has his businesses, he was doing well, he could have continued doing that and earn more money, etc., and more power. He left that, he came to join politics. Yangs was doing extremely well as a lawyer in the UK. Even today, he's defending people's cases in the UK, But he left all of that to come and get a miserly salary here compared to what he was getting in the UK to do what he's required to do because he wants to give back to this country. Most of us who have retired and come back to this country could be enjoying our retirement, doing consultancies and other things. We thought, yes, that is all very well, but our country deserves better. Our country deserves to be taken care of because the country gave a lot to us. We are what we are today thanks to the Gambia. So we want to give something back. So we all come into that. So basically what I'm saying is we have a group of people in the party who could have done other things, but who decided to forego all of that to come and fight for our country. So we are not in this for the material gain. We are in this for what we can make our country become that we can all be proud of. So it's easier to get those people to coalesce around an objective, to coalesce around an idea for this country, how we take it forward. There will be differences, yes. There will be ambitions as we go along. People who are into it for the power or whatever will see power coming, and then they will probably get, stung by by all of that, and then they move on to other places. But it's easier to pull those people back and say, "Hey guys, this was not the objective. The objective was to come and fight for this country and make it better for our kids and our grandkids. Let's get back to the brass tacks." It's easier to do that, and we are doing that. And you will be amazed about what is going to come out of this difficulty.
Really?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Finally, on the UE, before we go to others, because you mentioned UDP, and I invited, just to let you know, I invited even NPP to talk about, well, they too have their own small internal quarrel, if you like. There is a party, soon to be registered, we had, led by one Keba Madi Bojang. And there are reports that we had NPP telling people or their supporters not to endorse anybody who comes in their name, etc. So people believe that they are also going for a rape. So we invited, one of them to come and join you, just as you here. You talk about yours, they talk about theirs, but we couldn't have them because they said they have an engagement in Brikama and some other places. But then you said that that people are considering leaving NPP to come into UDP. I said, how could that happen when in the whole of last week, the NPP people were saying, wow, our people are at war among themselves, so why not we dance?
Yeah. These are the people around Barrow who really want to keep that and make sure that, they keep saying the things that Barrow wants to hear and then move on. So those people are there.
Barrow want to hear directly. What he was hearing was from your people directly.
Yeah. But these people go now and amplify it for him. They would love that because they want to keep their standing with Barrow. But see, the difference again there with us and them is that when these things happen, we keep it in perspective, and any of us would go to Ousseynou and sit with him and tell him, this is happening, and we think we should look at this, we should look at that, and give him objective analysis of the situation and not get excited, or too overzealous. We will tell him what we think is what he as a leader should hear, because that this is a very smart guy who would listen to you but will dissect everything you say. You don't want to lose credibility by telling him anything that's not true. So you give him a correct analysis of what you think honestly to be the situation, and you temper it as you go along, depending on what is required. So we do that. When we know that some people have been talking to our group, different people in our group, sounding us out. We want to come back. Do you think Ousseynou would accept us? I say, come on, guys. This is the man who came out of prison after Jammeh put him through all the difficulties he went through. He came out of prison. He said, you know what? I forgive Jammeh for everything. As far as I'm concerned, I've forgiven him. I say, guy who can say that after what he went through with Jammeh? You think that you've not done anything near what Jammeh did to him. If he can forgive Jammeh, you don't think he can forgive you? Go sit to him, talk to him. Talk to him and you'll see. So people have been trying this, and we say, you know what? Dabo is not what you guys say. And in fact, some of you know him. You have been there with him. You left. You can come back anytime. So yeah, we have these things.
So what is your intelligence as far as the rift or alleged rift in the NPP is concerned?
Well, we don't want to dwell on that because we want to let NPP deal with its issues. Because yes, we have a lot of intelligence about it, but we want to let them deal with their issues and whatever comes out of it.
You don't think their problem is as huge as yours?
They have a big problem, yes.
A bigger one?
Because for them, it's people planning to leave the party. For us, it's people who have had misunderstandings and exchanged some words that should not have been said, particularly not in public. But in their case, it's people planning to leave the party, people planning to set up their own party. And that is, of course, going to weaken him. But let them deal with their issues.
What do you say to them, their assassins, that they are happy that Dabo is coming, they can easily defeat Dabo? Probably they would have been afraid of a much younger candidate, but they said Dabo, well, they know how to beat Dabo, so they are happy that he's coming. What do you say?
If anybody worries NPP, it's Dabo.
Really?
You see that anytime Dabo does a press conference or says anything, Barrow, starting with Barrow all the way down, they are all onto that. That's all they talk about. Because they know the credibility Dabo has. They know the pull that Dabo has in this country. So they're worried about that. And they know that 2021, the elections were rigged and lost because of what happened. And that's not going to happen again. So they are worried about that. And more importantly, they know what they have done to this country, the suffering in this country. They know that. So they know that the Gambians are not going to be fooled into voting for somebody like him again. I mean, even that's why those people who are anti-Dabo, we tell them, look, let's discuss the issues. Why don't you like Dabo? Let's discuss them if you want. Because you cannot be so misguided as to vote for somebody who has put you through so much difficulty and who's going to do worse when he comes back to power. Look at all the legislation that has been coming out of the NPP government. Totally anti-democratic.
Okay.
Just look at the last one, on protecting the president, the National Assembly members and
the criminal offense bill.
Yes, the criminal offense bill. Look at that. They're protecting them. They are the only one who deserve protection. You can insult the party leaders, religious leaders, or anybody in this country. That doesn't count. But if you insult people in government, you are going to be dealt with, as they say, with the full force of the law. Come on.
We had Madi of the Civic Society last week saying that's very discriminatory.
Okay, it is.
Because you protect
not only
president, vice president,
it's insulting to the rest
but
of us.
then people otherwise elsewhere are not protected. Okay.
We saw the different bills. We saw what they were trying to do in the vetting bill. We saw what they're trying to do. Any bill that comes out of that government is extremely geared towards making Barrow an imperial president.
Okay. Apart from the UDP crisis, the other thing that occupied people's mind over the last week or so has been the issue of oil, whether we have found oil or not. And in his SONA address, that is the State of the Nation address, the president talked about oil for the first time. He said his government spent $100 million to try to dig 2 wells or dock 2 wells already perhaps, but then no oil has been found of any commercial value. That's what he said. Okay, people said, wow, critics said, why didn't this information, why wasn't it available since then? Why did the people didn't know about this until speculation started on the Jammeh saying that the oil has been stolen by Senegal? So people still felt that, well, whether or not that's the case is not important. But what is important is, why now and not before? Now, what do you know about this oil business? Do you believe the government or FAO, whatever, that we don't have oil that is commercially viable? Even though many said, we share the same area as the oil that are said very rich on the Senegalese side.
Exactly. You see, if you look at the Sangomar oil field, it is contiguous to our oil wells that were being explored.
Meaning very close.
Yes, very close. The same continental shelf and everything is the same. The A1 and A4 to start with, which are just above one another. A1 on top, A4 beneath, were given to another company. A2 and A5 were given to FAR.
Yes.
FAR did the prospection there and the exploration. And they came and said, there is a lot of oil in this place. What they didn't say was that there's also gas. available in this area.
Okay.
Why did FAR, which was already working in Dakar as well with Woodside,
Yes.
why did they leave their position in Senegal and sold off their shares in that exploration in Senegal to move to the Gambia? They went on air to say that we have at least 1.2 billion barrels of oil.
Potentially.
Yes.
They said that, yes.
Sitting in that area.
A FAR official said
Right.
that in an interview.
FAR used that credible data to be able to bring in other people. Petronas of Malaysia, BP of the UK, to bring in to partner with them. You think those people will come in just on a speculation?
Okay.
They don't. These people work on concrete data to come in and put their money
That's
in there.
very interesting. Yeah,
Okay.
I let's go back to it and make it clear. FAR official, one FAR official seen on a video that has been, I think it's 3-4 years ago, interview, saying that they believe potentially 2 billion or so barrels that are hidden on the Gambian shore offshore. And you said because of the potentials and how to call it, the potentials, they were able to sell this to BP and others
And
to get
Petronas.
them again patronized. So to come back and say there is none,
Yeah.
that's definitely boggled the people's mind.
Yes, and also after some time, FAR, before it quit the Gambia, told us in a report that they had drilled another oil well in A2, A5, and they had found traces of oil, but no oil. Where did the oil go?
Traces of oil.
Yeah,
Well, when there is a trace, there certainly must have been
the oil was there. Well,
a presence.
I was working with the African Development Bank, and we knew that a lot of agreements had been signed for this oil exploration, which were very, very adverse for the Gambia. And we encouraged the African Legal Support Facility to come and help renegotiate, because African Legal Support Facility is a legal entity within the ADB, hosted by the ADB, which comes to the assistance of African countries to renegotiate or negotiate contracts in the extractive industries sector. It could be oil, it could be minerals, it could be anything else, but Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, okay, EITI. So we help them to negotiate or renegotiate contracts which have been badly negotiated by the countries. Because these companies come in with a battery of lawyers specialized in those particular areas. And our countries don't have it. Gambia doesn't have any lawyers specialized in natural resource extraction and that sort of thing. So you need people from outside to come and assist you to do that. We have good lawyers, but they didn't specialize in that area. African Legal Support Facility has the possibility to bring in its own lawyers in those areas, or where they don't have specialty, they can hire the services of other lawyers to come and assist African countries. We did it for Guinea, we did it for Sierra Leone, we had to do it for the Gambia at the time, because we knew that there was oil here, and the contracts which were negotiated were poorly negotiated. They came here to talk to Jammeh, Jammeh wouldn't talk to them. And they got angry, in the end they left. When Barrow came, we asked the same people to come here to help negotiate. This was headed by a friend of ours, Steve Karangizi. They came here, reluctantly they came, and then they found that much more amenable people, and they discussed issues and they negotiated. So what were they negotiating on if there was no oil here? They did the negotiation, they went and came with their reports to the ADB.
And what did they report?
That the
potential.
The potential was there, and that the contracts were very poorly designed, to the detriment of the Gambia, and they were renegotiated so the Gambia would have its fair share, and that was done. But the government didn't take it any further. BP came in. When BP was supposed to do a lot of exploration and a lot of work in the oil fields in A2, A5, whatever happened, they saw that, and they decided also to go, because something was happening that they didn't like. But they had signed contracts, and which they needed to honor. So they were wanting to jump ship and go easily. They paid the government $5 million. And so that was unfair. So we put the African Legal Facility onto them again. African Legal Support Facility came and renegotiated and did everything, and BP in the end accepted to pay $30 million before leaving. Why do you think all of those monies change hands? If there was nothing happening.
And they paid
There are certain things, yes, to the Gambia government. And immediately after that, Mamburenjai came with a supplementary bill, and all that money went into that.
The money was put into supplementary bill.
So there are things we cannot talk about because of confidentiality. Because there are certain things you cannot talk about at this point, but there's a lot that happened there, and they know it. They know it. Barrow is telling us today they put $100 million into exploration.
Yes, what he said yesterday.
And that was nowhere in the budgets of the Gambia. Where was that money coming from? Who paid for it? Gambia government? Somebody else? Where did the money come from? Why was it not accounted for properly? Why are we hearing that just now? Why? In addition to that, a serious government really dealing with these oil wells, we demarcated, you see, the area which has been demarcated for prospection is just a small portion of our maritime area. A2, A5 put together is in the region of 2,500 to 3,000 square kilometers. You have other areas. If you take that and give it to a company, or A1, A4, and they do the drilling and the prospection, you let them move on to the development and exploitation. Whatever resources you get from that, because when these people come, they dictate their terms, you have very adverse conditions for the countries. Which is why the African Legal Support Facility was coming into
Perhaps Jammeh was
So
right
what-
in saying he didn't agree with whatever.
No,
proposal.
Jammeh was just, it was hot air. It was hot air. It's not
No,
true.
not about his allegation, but about him refusing the terms.
What he did that we have to acknowledge is that he started training Gambians
Yes, he
to be
said.
able to work in that industry.
Then he must have himself been convinced of the potential.
Of course, they knew that potential was there. And he started training Gambians to work in the oil industry. Senegal did that too, and they're still doing it. Every year, Senegal is giving 24 scholarships to Senegalese students, fully funded, and to work in the
study
oil industry.
petroleum.
Yeah, to study the petroleum sector. So they're doing that. Jammeh did that. You have to give him credit for that. You know
Yeah,
what?
he did that.
So he did that. But the
But
rest,
one would have thought that those he trained should have been spearheading or should have been in government institutions or our Ministry of Petroleum. Are they there?
some are there, some have left. Because it depends on whether the government empowers them to do the work they're supposed to do. Okay? Now, when you give out those oil wells and you get people to come in and do the exploration and the development and exploitation, if that were to happen, the money you get from that as your share, you could use that now to develop other oil wells where you don't have to bring in companies.
I see.
You pay for them to do that work. So what comes from there is entirely yours.
Exactly.
That's how the Saudis, the Qatari, the UAE, that's how they control their oil and gas wealth. The initial prospections and all that was entirely unfavorable to them. The resources they got from that, they use that now to pay for people to do the drilling at their expense. If Barrow, what he said is true, if they had given the 100 million to good, reliable, and credible companies to do the prospection, and they do it properly, we should have found oil with that. And we should have started drilling. And if they had done that, whatever comes from that is ours 100%. Because we would have paid for the exploration and development upfront. So those companies didn't incur any expenses, but because what they do when they incur expenses, they have to recover their expenses.
Yes.
And then there's sharing formulae which are put in place, and those sharing formulae are extremely detrimental to us. And the amount of money that they say they've put in there, you don't often have the possibility to control what they've been putting in there. So it's still very detrimental. But when we pay for it upfront, the results and everything are ours. When we do the exploitation, the resources are ours.
I see.
So we don't have to share with them. We can remunerate them for whatever work they do afterwards, but that will be on our terms. This is what we should be looking at. But none of that is happening. So the $100 million, if they paid for that,
Yeah.
they should tell us who they paid it to, under what conditions, where they did the exploration, and all that. Let's be transparent.
I see.
Tell us the data. Give us the full data. But they just
Okay.
give you briefs here and there.
Yeah.
You know?
I understand what you're talking about. So you're trying to say, okay, where did the money come from? Because there was no budget line
Yes.
for it, etc.
Yeah,
etc.
none.
Okay.
So who paid for it? Where is the money? Who got that contract? Where did they do the exploration? Give us the results of the exploration.
Okay.
So we see what happened.
All right, finally, let's move to the Middle East. We have seen a new conflict, Israel, Iran.
Yeah.
Israel attacked Iran, saying, of course, that they wanted to neutralize Iran's capacity or capability to develop the nuclear bomb, etc., because Iran had wanted to wipe out both Israel and America from the surface of that, etc., that kind of thing. But now it looks like, Iran is not it's not an easy nut to crack.
Yeah.
It's a very hard nut to crack now.
Yeah.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
What do you think, actually, in terms of let's hope that there can be a solution. Where do you think it can come from? Can they all have to look back to America again to have the solution, or do you think involvement America is only going to add fuel to fire?
Yeah, unfortunately, the only country that can bring sanity to this situation is the US.
But are they not in trouble in the first place? Most people say they are in trouble.
Yes. Trump is part of the whole problem. And they are the only people who still can bring sanity to that area. Netanyahu has been wanting for decades to attack Iran and destabilize it, with the US fighting its wars for it. He has been wanting to have that all along. Everybody held him back, said, no, don't go there, don't touch them, don't do this. Only Trump gave him the green light. And they went ahead with this war, because they thought that Iran was going to be a pushover, and they could deal with them in a couple of days, and the whole thing is over, and the government would fall, and then they would bring a regime change and all this, like they did in Syria, like they did in Libya, like they did in Iraq, and to a certain extent in Lebanon. Afghanistan, that blew up in their face.
Yes.
But there are all of these other cases.
But the Taliban came back to power anyway.
Yeah, so they thought Iran was going to be a pushover as well. And he miscalculated seriously, because Iran has become a world leader in missile technology, in drone technology, and they have developed incredibly powerful and potent missiles. So when they went in there and they thought it's going to be that easy, Iran threw a volley of drones and decoy missiles, and they spent a lot of their interceptor missiles bringing those down. When they spent most of their interceptor missiles doing that, Iran started now hitting them hard with the real missiles from their arsenal. Today, Israel is in ruins.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't admit the propaganda from there is they have eliminated all the nuclear scientists from Iran. They're targeting
that's how they started the war.
Republican guards.
Yeah,
and they're going to take out leaders.
Right. That's what started the war. They hit the Republican Guard leadership, the nuclear scientists, and some facilities. Nuclear facilities were attacked. 2 hospitals were attacked. They did all of that in the hope that they would be able to bring down the regime quickly. The people will rebel against the regime, and that will be the end. Except that they forget that Iran is a very resilient country. It's a very patriotic group of people. And instead of bringing the people out against the government, they managed to coalesce the country around the government.
At least people sympathize their government, even though they disagree, but they take that to be now...
It's a national issue now, patriotism. So they all rallied around the government.
I brought in the issue because in a context, the Gambia is affected. I have had voices criticizing the government for not leveraging our IEC chairman.
That's why I was
even
going
though
to
the president did mention and condemn the violence, and perhaps hope there will be a solution in his SONA address. But people said there should have been more practical initiatives as a chair of the OIC. What do you mean?
Exactly. Condemning it is very easy. When the Gaza war was on, when Israel was flattening Gaza, killing hundreds of thousands of people, killing and maiming them, including women and children and the old. They killed over 200 journalists in Gaza. They killed over 300 or 400 aid workers in Gaza, plus the tens of thousands of Gazans who were killed. Everything was flattened. So between the killed and the wounded and maimed, we had over 100,000 people in Gaza. During that time is when we expected the president, as the chair of the OIC, to go into diplomatic activism. Come out there, go meet the members of the OIC, bring the Troika into action, and do the meetings that were required and the activism of the OIC to try to lean on America and Europe and a few other countries to put an end to that massacre. When Jawara was made the chair of the committee to end the Iran-Iraq war, he was all over the place.
He was shuttling all over.
He was all over, doing his best. You might not succeed, but give it your best shot. What do you risk? That it doesn't happen. But if you don't go, you are certain it's not going to happen. Give it your best shot. Go out there. Do what you can to help these people. But he didn't go anywhere. His foreign minister didn't go anywhere. None of the ambassadors took it up. That's nothing done. If he had started at that point and put on a lot of pressure with the OIC and they have a lot of activism, we might have put an end to that massacre in Gaza.
Okay.
And then probably this would not have happened. But because Israel had a free hand, they did exactly what they wanted, when they wanted to, and killed who they wanted to, maimed who they wanted to, without any consequences.
So you mean our chairmanship of the OIC
has been a failure?
We did not make
good use of it. Yes, we didn't make good use of it to bring together the OIC community, because this is a community which has a lot of power.
Absolutely.
If you are able to mobilize that power, you can weigh on the decisions made by America, United States of America, and Europe to a certain extent.
So we should have, go beyond it's been just a ceremonial, position to a more.
It's not supposed to be ceremonial.
An influential position.
Yes, it's not supposed to be ceremonial. This is supposed to be a function which will be a leader in world politics, to be able to mobilize the world on issues concerning the Ummah, the Islamic community, but beyond that, to be able to do good during that period. We wasted an opportunity, and we're still wasting it. If that had happened, this Iran-Iraq war might not have happened, because if we are able to contain Israel in its attacks on Gaza, they probably wouldn't have gone this far. But because they did all that they wanted, how they wanted, without any challenge, with impunity, that's what got them to this place. And even now, he should have been out there talking to the different influential people in the OIC to try to see how they can still, because Trump is talking to a lot of the people in the Middle East.
In Turkey. I wonder whether maybe our foreign minister might be there.
Well, it's not the foreign minister. The president should be leading the charge on this.
He's gone to Abuja for ECOWAS summit as we speak.
Yeah. But he should have been the OIC influential heads of state and push on this, because Trump has a lot of contacts still with the Middle Eastern countries.
Yes.
So get them
He's talking to the Qataris and
to the Saudis.
He's got new friends there.
Yes. Talk to those people. Get them to work in the frame of the OIC and let them sell this agenda and let them push Trump not to escalate this war and to tame and rein in Netanyahu to put an end to this madness. Because if this goes beyond where it is now, if America were ever to intervene in this war, what will probably happen is that Iran is going to block the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh, that is the oil.
Exactly, where 20% of the world's oil transits. So if Iran blocks because the Strait of Hormuz is not difficult to control. You just throw a few missiles like they've done with Israel out there, and the ships wouldn't come anymore because insurance companies wouldn't.
Yeah, the insurance companies were afraid of going there.
They would lay a few mines here and there.
And then
it's easy. Yeah. They have submarines. They can do a lot of harm there. Absolutely. And if they block the Strait of Hormuz, 20% of the oil,
the supply chain will
be interrupted. Oh, yeah. If America intervenes, the Iranians are saying they're going to attack all those who have been supporting Israel and the United States of America in the region. That includes the Saudis, that includes the Qataris, that includes the Emirates. If that happens on Jordan, they're going to hit the oil fields. If they hit the oil fields,
then that's a big
the oil supply would be a mess in the world. And the whole world will just slump into a recession. And that will hit us extremely hard here in the Gambia.
So it is, if for anything else, it's our own interest for us to leverage our OIC chairmanship and go around to influence the process of peace.
Yeah.
Well, the president did mention, condemn the violence and out for a resolution.
Is too easy. What we want is activism.
Good.
It's a force for good. Use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Lamin Manneh, he is the Deputy Secretary for External Affairs in the United Democratic Party. Thank you very much for coming on the brunch and addressing issues from his party and other current affairs. Thank you very much for being on the brunch.
My
We
pleasure.
appreciate your perspective.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
The brunch will be back next week. Perhaps we can have the NPP to talk about their own small internal issues. But then, of course, join us then. Until then, thank you very much for now.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, takaful fund, management of zakat, management of awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.
Jamano Money Transfer Bureau de Change, your go-to option when it comes to money transfer. With Jamano, you can send money from anywhere in the world to your family and loved ones in the Gambia and be sure the funds will be delivered to them within the shortest time possible. For your convenience, funds sent through Jamano Money Transfer can be picked from all the banks and multiple other financial institutions, including Ajib Bank, Trust Bank, GT Bank, Mega Bank, Basic Bank, Reliance Financial Services, and Approved Services. Visit our head office at Bruceby opposite AfricMed next to Trust Bank Limited or email us at info@jamanomt.com. You can as well call us on 310-3050 or 310-3051 or yet still 733-0688. Our opening hours are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday and 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. Jamano Money Transfer, your most trusted money transfer service where customer satisfaction is paramount. When you think of a simple, fast, and reliable money transfer, think Jamano Money Transfer.
Agada
Mbijan raganyadi.
albaka
Mbaka important.
yo nga transfer la sto
Ya transfer la
ha code nyinji
Okay.
korsa
Nsila ID soto.
ha sa so sorry agada
Mbijan bro.
albaka
Mbaka.
bara alla service o tariya
mbare.
mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya
Jannom Yona Forest de Bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Birim koyna fo katon.
bari si kodo kino katon ni fo bolon blabe ko
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
ha
Gambia kono anin Gambia e bantala bankol. Nka kono ki ya bere. kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi topoto nin kodi maraw jannam number 1 di nyonta andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale wala nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma nin domorol dil fana be teata gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je
wo moy o diat
a felenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina
yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba
yalo ndel ciosano lo
baraka